everybody, this is Boy, and I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite superhero movies from the 2000s. This is just going to be movies released between 2000 and 2009 and everything, so I would do one for the 90s, but I haven't seen a lot of the superhero movies in the 90s outside of the Batman movies and that were released in that time, so I won't be doing that, doing a top 10 90s superhero movies. I might after I get to see some more, because I still want to see Tank Girl and Steel, which I've heard both of those are pretty bad, and I've got Judge Dredd, but I haven't watched that one yet. I've heard all of those are pretty bad, and I haven't seen Blade yet either, so I need to watch that too. But so this list is just going to be ones of the 2000s. I know some of these movies aren't really considered very good, but all of them I do at least enjoy, or at least did the last time I watched them. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Number 10 is Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. I thought this movie was just really good. Great animation, the voice cast is all great in here. It was awesome getting Mark Hamill back as the Joker, and Kevin Conroy was great as Bruce Wayne, and I liked the Batman Begins show. I watched it quite a bit as a kid and everything, but I wasn't as big on that as I was like Batman the Animated Series. But I did love this movie. I thought it was really good, and I liked that they kind of hinted around that Harley Quinn was still alive and stuff. And like I said, I think it has a really good story. I like that we find out that Robin is actually the new Joker and everything because of being tortured and stuff as a kid by the Joker and Harley Quinn. And I thought that was a really interesting story and everything. So Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker is number 10, and number 9 is Hulk. I think this movie is really underrated. When it first came out, I remember going to see it with my grandma. It was actually the very last movie that me and her went to see in the theaters before she passed away, and I didn't like this movie very much when I first saw it, to be honest. I really didn't. But as time's gone on and I've rewatched it a few times, I enjoy it a lot more now. And I think that the reason I didn't enjoy it as much as a kid is because it is a slow burner, that there's not a bunch of action in it and everything until like the third act and stuff. So it takes quite a while for them to even show him as the Hulk. I think it takes about an hour and a half to even show him and everything. So that's why I wasn't big on it back then. But as I've gotten older, I enjoy it a lot more. I kind of appreciate what they were trying to do with that movie, because they were trying to make it more about the character than about the action and stuff. And I respect that, and I really enjoy this movie a lot more now than I did back then. So Hulk is number 9, and number 8 is The Spirit. I think this movie is really underrated. I think, if I remember right, Frank Miller directed this one. But I loved this movie. I thought that it was really underrated. The cast was all really good in here, especially Samuel L. Jackson, who plays the Octopus, which is a villain. He's just really great. I loved him in this movie. He's kind of over the top, but sorry. But even though he's over the top, he's Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, he's usually always over the top, and he's just really good in this movie. And I think it's Josh Hartnett who plays the Spirit. I can't remember for sure, but he does a really good job. I really like him in it, and I just really love this movie. I think it's a really good movie. It's really underrated. I do think that if it would have had the R rating, it probably would have been even better. But I really enjoyed this movie. I remember when I saw it the first time, I didn't expect to really like it because I had heard so much bad about it, but it's one of those that I think is really underrated. So, The Spirit is number 8, and number 7 is Daredevil from 2003. I haven't seen the director's cut yet. I own it, and it's actually one that I'm needing to watch. It's on my to-watch list, but I haven't seen the director's cut, but I've seen the theatrical a few times, and I've always thought this movie was kind of underrated. It's really cheesy and stuff, but I like cheesy movies, so, I mean, kind of for that reason. I like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner both quite a bit. I thought they were good in this movie, and I do think this could have been a much better movie, but I think that it was still pretty good. And while I like Michael Clark Duncan, I kind of think he was miscast as Kingpin, and it's not because I think he was bad for a bad actor or anything. I think it's just because he's one of those actors that plays such lovable characters like John Coffey and the character he played in Armageddon and other movies. I think it was just kind of hard for me to accept him as a villain and everything because of how much I loved him in other movies, but I think he still did a decent job and everything. He wasn't terrible. Yeah, I even like Colin Farrell in here, and he's another actor that I'm not a huge fan of, but I liked him in this movie. And Daredevil is just kind of underrated. I think it's a fun movie. It's definitely not the best or anything, but it's definitely at least a fun movie. So Daredevil is number 7, and number 6 is The Punisher, starring Thomas Jane and John Travolta. I absolutely love this movie. I remember when I got it on DVD for the first, I watched it for the first time. I went in not expecting to like it, and I ended up loving it. It is kind of a slow burner, a little bit, kind of like Hulk, but not quite as slow. It's not as long as the Hulk movie and everything, but it has a lot of really good action in it, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of John Travolta, and I really actually hated his character in that movie and everything. Most of the time when he plays bad guys, I always think he's really cool and stuff, but I just really didn't like his character in the movie, and I think that it was a good performance, a pretty underrated one too. I think this movie could have been a whole lot better, a whole lot worse than it was. And I think it deserved better reception. I think it is a really good movie and everything. I haven't seen the Punisher Warzone yet, or the Punisher from the 80s with Dolph Lundgren. I want to see both of those really bad. I've heard that neither one of them were real great, and I want to see the TV show too. I haven't had a chance to watch any of that yet either, but I do really like the Punisher. I think it is a really good movie. So that's number 6, and number 5 is The Incredibles. I just absolutely love The Incredibles. It was a great animated movie. The voice cast was excellent, especially Jason Lee as Syndrome, the villain. The characters are all really likable, and I love that Syndrome, even though he's not a good guy or anything, the reason why he's bad and stuff, and he's like a sympathetic character. Because if you've ever met somebody that you look up to and they're rude to you, I'm sure that will make you feel really, really bad and everything. And I just like the way they did his character, and I think the animation still holds up pretty well too. I rewatched it last year before I saw the second movie, and it is a little bit dated, but not too bad. And it's a fun movie. It has a great score by Michael Giacchino, I think is how you say his last name. probably butchered it, but his score is amazing, and it's just a really fun movie. So The Incredibles is number 5, and number 4 is The Dark Knight. I absolutely love this movie. When it first came out, I was like really into this movie. I had gone into it not really even being that excited about it. I liked Batman Begins quite a bit and stuff, but I was still kind of not really into superhero movies that much outside of Spider-Man. And like I said, I thought Daredevil was alright, but I cared more about a lot of the superhero movies that came out at that time, more for the toys than the movies themselves, with the exception of X-Men and Spider-Man. And the last X-Men movie had really disappointed me, The Last Stand. But The Dark Knight, I went into it not really expecting to like it that much. I liked Batman Begins a lot, though, so I don't know why I really wasn't that excited for it. I think part of it was because of the hype, because I was afraid that the hype was going to ruin it for me, but I ended up enjoying it a lot. Christian Bale is not my favorite Batman, though. I will say that. The movie, mainly, the reason I like it is because of the Joker. Heath Ledger did a really great job playing him. I don't know if I could say that he's my favorite version of the Joker, but he definitely is one of the best. I don't deny that at all. And he was really good, and the rest of the cast was pretty good in there. Even Maggie Gyllenhaal, which I like Katie Holmes better, but I think that them replacing her with Maggie Gyllenhaal probably was for the better, because her and Katie Holmes and Christian Bale had no chemistry and everything. So I think that them recasting her worked out for the better. I really do like The Dark Knight. I'll probably do a review on that sometime. I need to review all of the Batman movies sometime. Yeah, so The Dark Knight is number 4, and number 3 is X2. This was actually the very first superhero movie I ever saw in the movie theater. Me and a friend went to see this, and man, I loved it. It's easily my favorite X-Men movie to date. Like most of the other ones, they've had their highs and lows. Like The Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine were both mediocre and disappointing, and Dark Phoenix was just alright. But I think this is probably one of the big highs for the franchise, and I'd probably say it is my favorite one out of the franchise. Either that one or Logan. But I just love this movie. I think that even though it wasn't rated R, the scenes where Wolverine is in berserker mode, and that one scene when like the people are invading the school and stuff, is just one of the best scenes in a superhero movie. And the scene where he's fighting the girl with the claws, I cannot remember her name. I think it was Lady Deathstrike, I think is her name. I can't remember. But I love that scene too. It was really good. And I think that the villain was pretty good in here, and it was a really fun movie. It's easily my favorite movie in the X-Men franchise for sure, though. And it's number 3, and number 2 is Iron Man. This movie kicked off the MCU, and had I known that this movie was going to spark one of my most beloved franchises and stuff, I would have probably tried to see this movie in the theater. I really regret passing up seeing it, because I had quite a few opportunities where I could have, and I regret not seeing it in the theater. Everything, because I didn't know that I was going to like it that much. I had heard so many bad things about Robert Downey Jr. growing up, and so I was like, I really don't know what to think about him as Iron Man and stuff. And I didn't really know much about Iron Man anyway. He wasn't like a character that I was really interested in, and I happened to buy this movie at the pawn shop, and I watched it for the first time, thought it was great, and every time I rewatch it, I like it a little bit more. I think it's just a really, really good movie, and Iron Man is my favorite character in the MCU as well, and Robert Downey Jr. just was so great playing him. And I just think this is a really, really good movie. So, Iron Man is number 2. And before I do number 1, I'd like to give out a few honorable mentions. Hellboy and Hellboy 2. I do like both of those quite a bit, especially Hellboy 2. I really like that one a lot. Elektra, I think that one's kind of underrated. Catwoman, I think, is underrated. I liked both of those, or at least the last time I watched them I did. I haven't seen Catwoman though since I was a kid, so I might not like that one as much. But back then I did. Constantine with Keanu Reeves, I like that one quite a bit. The first XMen, of course, and what's the other one? Fantastic Four. I think the first one was okay, and the second one was alright. I enjoyed them a lot more when I rewatched them a few years ago, but they're still not like my favorites. But I think they're okay. So I give them a small honorable mention. And Sky High, which probably would have made this list if it hadn't been so long since the last time I saw it. I haven't seen Sky High since I was probably in middle school, so I don't remember it very well and everything, but I remember, at least back then, I loved it. I'm sure I probably still would today. I think it's one of those probably is still really, I'd still really like a lot now. And there was another one that I was going to mention. I forgot what it was. But anyway, those are my honorable mentions. And my number 1 favorite superhero movie of the 2000s is Spider-Man 2. Obviously, this probably isn't really a surprise to anybody, because I've said I don't know how many times on Facebook posts and in other videos that Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero movie of all time. I just absolutely love this movie. It takes everything from the first movie and expands the world and stuff introduced from the first movie very well. The characters are done very well. I think Doc Ock is a great villain, and I just absolutely love this movie. I think it's easily one of the best superhero movies ever made, and I definitely would recommend it if you haven't seen it, which if you're a Spider-Man fan, you probably have. I know most people say that this one is still one of their favorites, and it's very understandable why and everything. So anyway, let me know in the comments what your favorite superhero movie of the 2000s is, and if you want to, you can tell me your top 10 favorites of that decade. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.
This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend.
That's enough, guys.
Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because this is the song that